We don't have the hard numbers or data to quantify the question, but most people would probably agree that compared to 10 or 20 years ago, there are a lot more people riding bicycles on the streets and roadways than there used to be. And more bike lanes are popping up on some streets, helping to designate more clearly who is supposed to be where. One of the best-known examples of that around here is Depot Street in Manchester, where a recent reconfiguration of that heavily used thoroughfare incorporates 2 bike lanes while compressing the formerly 3-lane road into 2. Town Manager John O'Keefe describes the thinking here.
I think, there's a lot of good things that come out of bike lanes. One is obviously, more people will bike to work and healthier and be able to make those choices if they want to versus, we're not suggesting that everybody has to get out of their car and ride a bike, but we're suggesting that it'd be nice if people had that option. And then the other one is people coming to visit. A lot of people travel, and one of the main things that they want to do when they travel is cycling. So we're hoping to make ourselves a destination for all kinds of recreation, whether it's youth sports or rock climbing or hiking or biking. And that's the kind of thing that bodes well for visitors and local residents.
Bikers, like joggers or runners, are entitled to use the roads as much as motorists are, but in many places, whether it's in a rural area or in a town, sharing the road is easier said than done. So we asked Robin Werner, a local bike enthusiast, the former owner of a bicycle store in Manchester, and one of the leaders involved in trying to bring a rail trail that could be used for biking. We asked him what were some of the common sense rules that both motorists and bikers should observe for mutual safety.
Well, I think the first thing that needs to be said is that the state of Vermont, and I think all states, consider a bicycle a vehicle. And I think that's in all the new driver's manuals, so that's getting around. And as such, bikes are supposed to observe all the rules of the road pretty much exactly as if you were driving a car. So I've sort of broken down this into 2 areas. One is rights and responsibilities of car drivers and rights and responsibilities of bike riders. So drivers of cars, probably the biggest thing that we have, which is a problem, is drivers passing bicycles. The rule in Vermont and most states is a minimum of 3 feet that the driver is supposed to allow in passing a bicycle, and that seems to be a problem. A lot of drivers respect that and some don't. The worst situation is when you're on a 2-lane road and a car comes up behind you on a bike and needs to pass and doesn't wait to have traffic clear on the other side, creating a situation that I call 3 across. You've got a bicycle and 2 cars passing each other on a 2-lane road, and it's not safe for anybody. Generally, the car coming the other way has to get partly off the road. It's just insanity. That's not supposed to happen. The other problem that we sometimes have with cars is they will pass a biker and then turn right. They're going to be making a right and they misjudge the speed of the biker, and they'll pass the bike and turn right, and the bike will collide with the car. So that's a problem, that kind of thing. The responsibility for bikers are to pretty much ride your bike as if you were driving a car, not do crazy stuff, not cut across parking lots, not make you turn in the middle of a block. A biker's supposed to use hand signals. The traditional left and right hand signals so that a car behind you knows what's going on. A biker should stay to the right if possible. In some cases, there's a paved lane on the side of the road, and that's ideal. And when that happens, when you have a bike lane, the bikes are in there and the cars are separate, and that's all good. But in situations where there is no lane or the lane is dangerous, then the bike has to ride in the road. And you get to a situation where some places you will actually see, and Manchester has them, they're now called sharrows. They're sets of 3 arrows with a bike picture under it. and that's to indicate that a bicycle may ride in the traveled lane, and in some cases, what we call take the lane. In other words, if you're in a situation where if a car tries to pass you, it's going to create a danger for everybody, you as a biker should get out further to the left, more in the middle of the lane. It's called taking the lane. You don't use this frivolously, but you do use it when you when you have a dangerous situation. You are not required in most states to ride a bike path if you want to ride on the road. So that's the other area is what we call group rides. When several people go out riding together, they really should ride single file. If you are on a deserted country road and there's no traffic, you can ride next to another person, but generally the etiquette amongst bike riders is if they are riding along in that kind of a situation and a car appears behind them, usually the last guy in the group yells out, "Car back," and everybody takes that as a signal to get back into single line and single file, so as not to block traffic.
The main rule of thumb would seem to be play it safe, and remember that people on bikes or runners or walkers are more vulnerable to injury than motorists. At one time or another, many of us will be one or the other, so it never hurts to err on the side of caution. For the GNet TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.